Hello my fellow R's and welcome back to another episode of A View from the Loft post-match review with me, P Block Scudze. And as you can tell from the start of this video, it's just another defeat for the R's. And the worst thing about it is it was against one of our local rivals in Fulham. I hate Fulham. I hate Fulham with a passion. And it frustrates me so much when we don't do well against our rivals. Saying that though, once again we're going to be looking at the highlights, looking through the stats, and I'm going to be giving the players some ratings and just generally talking about the match afterwards. It wasn't as bad as I possibly have made out it to be at the start of this video, but still it's hard losing to your rivals. You know, it does make you just want to give up sometimes doing this, but no, it wasn't that bad compared to the other two games against Charlton and Barnsley. But yeah, what can I say? It's another loss. It's not good. It's not good. But anyway, before we get into the highlights, let's have a quick look at our starting 11. So the starting lineup meant that there were three major changes, with Kane coming for Rangel, KK coming in for Masterson, and Amos coming in for Chair. Now this is how I believed we played most of the game in terms of formation wise, but myself and other QPR fans were completely baffled as to how we were going to be set up due to the team selection. But yeah, we did play with three at the back. And then we had Manning and Kane as wing-backs, Amos taking the central defensive midfield role. And yeah, Ball, I think, played out on the right wing for most of the game. It was a very, very weird setup, but one that almost did work. And on the bench, all three players that had been replaced from the starting 11 were on the bench. Again, Wallace wasn't featured, so maybe this is a case of he is actually injured at the moment and that's why he's not featuring. So there's the team. Now let's get into the highlights of last night's game against Fulham. Okay, so straight into the highlights. First minute into the game. Love it. We were just pressuring them. Ose then lays it out, and this was a beautiful cross from Manning. And then Hugo remembered to find the net, and what a header that was. Brilliant goal. I'm so glad he finally got his goal, because you know, after his performance against Charlton and Barnsley, he needed that. I think it helped boost his confidence, and the rest of the game he really did do a good job. You know, he every time the ball came to him from the air, he managed to bring it down. And one of the highlights they didn't actually show in this clip was at one point he had another great chance to score, where the ball came to him, he managed to chest it down, spin around through, just get through the defenders and hit it towards the right top corner. Was a good save by their keeper, but yeah, it came so close to getting another one in this game. And then this was the moment we did lose focus. This was when Fulham started playing their game, and they came really close here to equalising. Ball bobbling about and got through everyone and came off the post. Yeah, it was one of those that at the time I felt like, you know, something's going to happen here if we don't start focusing again. And then that exactly is what happened. You know, here, look, we're trying to clear it. Barber's telling everyone, get out. Ball just unlucky there. I think Arteta got a touch. But this such a poor attempt to save the ball from Kelly. Why he was only going for it with one arm, I don't know. He knows himself he should have done a hell of a lot better with that shot. As I say, just in the build-up there, ball was just unlucky. I think Arteta got the touch and just nipped it through his legs, and obviously then ball is caught out of position in terms of he's got his back to the ball. Not a lot he can do from there. And Arteta having a shot like that, it's one of those. It should be an easy save, but yeah, really unfortunate that Kelly made that mistake there. So just before we go look at the second half, there was one chance that they didn't show and that we had, where we should have gone 2-1 up. Osei managed to play the ball in from the wide position. It went past everyone. I think it was Hugill that laid it off, and Amos, the ball was in no man's land in the penalty area, and Amos was the one to step up, and he blasted it. We side-footed, blasted it over the bar. That was the perfect chance to go 2-1 up, and like I said last week with Hugill and his chance against Charlton, put your laces through it. Hard and low laces, that would have gone into the bottom of the corner. It would have definitely beaten the Fulham defender, and I most certainly would have beaten the Fulham keeper. But all these side foot shots and trying to hit the roof of the net, it's resulting in too many times the ball going high and wide, and it's just awful. These are chances we should be taking. We know we're better than that. Okay, so into the second half, and just before this, Kane had actually given the ball away, and then that happened. And again, it's 75 minutes in, and we were playing really good football, but what happened was Kane, they'd had a corner, it was being cleared. Kane had tried to play it up the right wing, but it went straight to their player. He then put the crossover, and their goal scorer, he'd been trying them shots all in the first half. We should have really known that at some point he was going to let rip, with a shot like that. We could have blocked it, the defenders could have got in the way, but other than that, there wasn't a lot else we could do to prevent that goal. And so just before this, Kane did actually have a really good chance, but he was so unlucky there with his head smashing off the crossbar. It was one of those perfect corners that come in. Someone had got their head to it. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a scramble, in trying to get the ball into the back of the net, and then they eventually got it, away. But so there was one chance, to say that Kane had. Ball had been worked brilliantly down the left wing, and it was put across, went over everybody's head, and Kane was coming in again, side-footed it, and it went high and over the bar. But if he'd have actually got it on target, I think it would have hit the back of the net, and it would have been 2-2 by then. And so this was the other corner we had. Again, brilliant delivery from Eze. Manning really unlucky this time, just not getting it on target and just heading it over the bar. And so that was it. That was the final score. QPR 1, Fulham 2. I'd say much better, but in the end, we should have. I mean, if we'd have got a draw, I think it would have been well deserved. Fulham weren't that great. They played their bits though. They played their game at points, but we also, played our game. And there was sometimes, we switched off and didn't focus. But hey ho. Anyway, let's go and have a look at the stats from yesterday's game. So in this game, we didn't have as much possession as Fulham. They're very much a team that like to keep a lot of the possession when they can. We did have good times though where we were keeping the ball, but it was nice to see that for a change we had 11 shots at goal. Okay, only 2 on target, but at the end of the day there was 6 off target, which does show that we was actually trying to have a go and get the goals. Our passing wasn't as good as Saturday, down to 70%. There were a few times where there was being some sloppy misplaced passes. And it was nice to see again that we had some more corners this time. It just showed that we was actually forcing the issue of trying to create chances and get back in the game. So we had 5 offsides to their 1, which is unusual for us because we never seem to get forward. But our tackles were good. We got just over 71% there, which is really good. But down this week with our aerial duels, which is unlike our defence. And obviously, as you can tell, it was a West London derby, so there were quite a few fouls committed, and 1 for both teams, and also a total of 5 yellow cards. And there probably could have been even more yellow cards being shown to some players after some of their tackles. So there's the stats. Now let's have a look at my player ratings for yesterday's game. Liam Kelly. Liam, I had to give a 4. He was at fault for their first goal. Really should have done better with that attempt to save. And his distribution tonight was very poor. Wasn't always the best balls that he was launching upfield. Must say this is one game that I was actually quite disappointed in Kelly and his performance. Osman KK. KK I gave a 7. I thought he had an exceptional game tonight, considering this was his first start for the team. Playing at right back when it was just a 3 of defenders. It was a big ask for him, and Fulham asked him the question a lot. They kept pumping the balls over towards his way, and I felt like he dealt with every ball exceptionally. I think there was probably one mistake he made in the second half, but other than that, I thought he had a really good, strong game, and definitely looks like he could be playing in the first team more regularly next season. Jeff Cameron. Cameron I also gave a 7, considering he's not naturally a centre back, he's more of a defensive midfielder, but I thought him in the middle at the back, he did a really good job. I felt like he was strong. He made some good clearances, some good blocks. And I definitely consider putting him in that position again if we're going to have 3 at the back. Johan Barber. Now Barber I gave a 6. Again, it was an average game for him, but he just doesn't have that presence like the Cameron did in the game. I just want to sort of hear him a bit more. I want to see him, talking to the players and making sure that he's doing what the captain does. Ryan Manning. Manning I gave a 7. I thought he had a brilliant game tonight, especially that cross for our goal. It was just such a beautiful cross with a nice bit of backspin, enough for Hugo to get up and get his head on it. And generally I felt like he was a lot better than in the previous games. Definitely does all right in that position of a left wing back. Luke Amos. Amos I gave a 6. I thought it was a better game for him last night. He was definitely on the ball a lot more, and we actually could see him and what he was doing for a change. Few sloppy passes though, which did let him down, but compared to the last couple of games, a lot more plays with him. Todd Kane. Kane I gave a 6, and I thought he was well deserved, considering his last 2 performances when he's come on. I do believe that right wing back position is a lot better for him, because it does mean he can get up the pitch better than what he can when he's right back. But no, I thought he played some really good balls, he put some really good tackles, and that position just seemed to really suit him well tonight. Dominic Ball. Ball I gave a 6. Again, it was a better performance compared to the Charlton game. But other than that, it was pretty much average. It wasn't his best game by far, but it certainly wasn't his worst. I think 6 is a pretty fair rating for him in this game. Ebire Eze. Eze I gave a 7. I thought he had a really good game tonight. He was definitely making a lot of runs. He was trying to get the goal that we needed in the second half. The only downside I felt was he was a bit slow on the free kick, which Manning passed out for him to have a shot. But no, other than that, I thought it was a really good game, especially say compared to the Charlton game at least. Bright Asai Samuel. Now Samuel I gave a 6 because in the first half he did seem bright, excuse the pun, by setting up Amos, only for Amos to miss. I do feel like though in the second half, once he got a bit of a knock, he should have been taken off there and then, because after that he didn't seem to want to know as much. I think he was worried that he was going to get another worse knock and it was just going to injure him. So he did come off the pace after that. But other than that, much better compared to the last couple of games. Jordan Hugill. Hugill I gave an 8. I thought he was absolutely outstanding tonight and massively proved me wrong compared to the rating I gave him against Charlton. Brilliant header to get the first goal, and as I say, he had a really good chance to make it 2-1 at one point. I just felt like that every time the ball came out of the air, he dealt with it really well. He got the header on it. It wasn't always brilliant, in terms of the direction the ball went, but I thought he worked exceptionally well in the game. And fully deserves his 8 this week. I just hope that he can keep this up going into the game against Middlesbrough. Aramidi Ote and Midi Shadipo. Now these guys only really came on for 16 minutes, so really couldn't get too much into the game. Both I gave 5, just purely because when they did come on, the work rate was really good, and given longer, I think we might have got to seen a bit more out of them, and maybe created a few more chances. Elias Chair. Chair literally came on for a few minutes. He really should have been brought on a hell of a lot earlier. So I'm not going to give him a rating. It's unfair on him. But yeah, when he did come on, he did show that hunger, and you know, I think he could have changed the game a lot more had he been brought on a lot earlier. So there you go, guys. Those were the highlights and the player ratings. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my ratings. Do you feel like I was too kind to some players, or do you feel like I was too harsh on some players? Either way, let me know, and you know, we'll discuss as always. Now, yeah, I thought it was a lot better. I thought it was a lot better than the previous two games. For starters, when scoring in the first minute, we came at the traps. We laid it thick onto Fulham. We gave them no chance to breathe in the first 20 minutes, and you know, that's the football we want to see. That's the intensity we want to see from our players. Fulham looked a shell of the team that they were before. And they just couldn't handle the fact that we were applying so much pressure. They couldn't play it out from the back. They couldn't play football at all. Okay, unfortunately, after 20 minutes, we did, lose our concentration, our focus, and that's how Fulham, firstly, obviously hitting the post and then getting that goal. I felt like, it was still one of those. By the end of the half, we were still in the game, and there was all opportunity to, nick a goal. So gutted with Amos missing that shot, and then come the second half, again, it just took one mistake, which was Kane losing the ball, for them to build up their play and get that goal. Yeah, not much really could have been done, apart from we should have got a block in, but other than that, it was a good goal. I don't like giving Fulham credit, so there won't be a lot of that in this video, but the one thing that worried me though was, we had 6 minutes added time, and there was another minute I think added on top of that. We're not trying to get the ball in the box quick enough. We're still trying to play it about, which I understand. The passing game, will help build up, a chance. But at that point of the game, we should be pelting it into the box, throwing bodies on the line just to try and get that ball in the back of the net. We came close with those two corners, and that really should have cemented it in the players' heads, that come on, throw it at them, put them under that pressure, because they couldn't cope with it in the first 20 minutes. So who's to say they're going to not cope with it in the final 6? So yeah, very disappointing overall in terms of losing to Fulham. Hate it. But on the plus side, I would say it was a much better performance. Hopefully we can use that going into the game against Middlesbrough, because we all know that Warnock's not going to do us a favour. We love him to bits, but at the moment he's got a job to do. He's not really going to, and keeping Middlesbrough in the league, he's not going to do us any favours. So we've really got to make our own stamp up there. So one thing I was going to say, two things, sorry, I should say. The firstly was Warburton's comments before yesterday's game, where he was really angry at the fans for their stick towards the team, and the style of play, and that they've given up and everything. At the end of the day, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. The fans do not know what goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of things that we don't know about, a lot of things we don't see or hear. So at the end of the day, my message to Warburton would be, unfortunately, we are going to criticise the players based on what we see on the pitch, where it matters the most. In those 90 minutes, we want to see our team, playing well, scoring goals, creating chances, taking chances. So at the end of the day, it's not a case of it's personal attacks, which shouldn't be from myself and other fans that I know. They're not personal attacks on the players. There's not personal attacks on you. It's not even personal attacks on the team as a whole. It's just criticism, and we're allowed to do that. We pay our money. We're the ones that pay to watch the play, like the team, and cheer them on every week. It's not personal, but when we're describing what we see, you need to take that on board. Or better still, come out and tell us what the players have been doing behind the scenes, how well they've actually been doing in training, and different factors as to why it didn't work, during the game.
We know that the club aren't going to be completely honest about everything and anything, because obviously it gives away the secrets to our opposition. But those little bits, of information would go a long way. If say, because we've only got two at the back, and one's not played very well. Well, actually, he did pick up a major knock, in the first 5 minutes, but because we've got no other options, he's had to stay on and play the rest of the game. Stuff like that, the fans will be a bit more appreciative of that than, oh no, he had a brilliant game, or just making up excuses that we all know is a load of BS. So, but another point from that, I would like to think that the players maybe have looked at all the comments, maybe have watched videos like mine and Talking Rangers, have seen our negative comments and taken them on board, and it's changed it tonight. I mean, Hugo, for example, different player compared to the game against Charlton, and fair play to him. I ripped into him in the post-match review, and so I'll hold my hands up in this video and say, yeah, Jordan, you turned it around, and I was really pleased to see your work rate today. You was a different player. You were a player that we have seen before, and we love. Great header. I can't argue with that. You did your job today. So fair play to you, mate. And and that's why you deserve the rating I gave you. So the second thing I now want to talk about is the fans. In the last video I put up comments that I'd received on my Instagram post, and most people agreed with what was said on there. I'm not going to do that this week because I've spoken to so many people last night, be it collectively or individually, about last night's game, about Warburton, about players, etc. And it just goes to show at the moment that there is becoming a big divide between the fans in terms of who thinks this, who thinks that, who agrees with this, who agrees with that. So the one thing I would like to say is that some fans do need to remember that without this lockdown, and without having the fans at the games at the moment, things have changed. Yes, not for the better, but it's generally that's the reality of it. Unfortunately, the lockdown, the pause in the season, it did mean we lost our confidence. It did mean we lost our form. It does mean that players are getting used to playing again, and that, because at the end of the day, this season would have been finished by now. If it had been a normal season, it would have been done and dusted. The players would be on their holidays, about to start coming back, start training for the next season. They've had 3 months of having to do training / have a holiday, whatever, to then come back to playing games, and then going to have another break, and then it's like the body clock is saying, hold on, I'm not used to this right now. But I mean, yeah, I'll give some players their due. They are still trying to find their feet at the moment. But the one thing I keep hearing with a lot of fans is Warburton out. Warburton's crap. If we lose all these games, he's got to go. Rah rah rah. I think a lot of you are being narrow-minded and are only thinking about what's happening at the moment. Now, we know the playoffs are out of reach, and I've said it before. I'm fine with that because I don't think we were ready for the playoffs. Okay, we're now 8 points off of the relegation zone. That's not brilliant. That's not brilliant at all. But there are worse teams below us. I don't think we have to worry about relegation at the moment. But a lot of people are forgetting about what happened before the start of this. Before the start of the lockdown, we had so much confidence. We were 5 without loss, 3 wins and 2 draws. Now, if there was no lockdown and we'd have carried on that form and that confidence going into the Barnsley game and the Charlton game, we certainly wouldn't have lost those games. Barnsley, I should imagine we would have won that game at home because the fans would have been there, the confidence, etc., the form. Same with Charlton. Fulham, yeah, I don't know if we would have won that game because they would have been like us. They were on a high at the time, so that one would have been still a tough game. But I do believe that if there had been no pause in this season, we would have finished about 8th, 9th, 10th, and I would have been ecstatic about that. That would have been a brilliant season. And I know for a fact that everyone will be going, yes, Warburton, best manager since Warnock, yeah. But because we've had a break, because the form's gone, because the confidence is gone, which you can't bottle it up, you can't just put it on the shelf for 3 months and then bring it back and open it up. You're now going, oh, he's crap, we need to get rid of him, blah, blah. Since Warnock, what manager has really had any major progression with any of the teams that we've had since Warnock? Yeah, all right, Redknapp got us up via the playoffs. I don't think he really had his heart in it, though. But, you know, most seasons we finished, you know, just above the relegation. The last person that actually was making progression, whether you like it or not, was Ian Holloway. We finished 13th under him, and we were making good progression. Unfortunately, the board made, you know, a fatal error by getting rid of him and bringing in McLaren, because we all know what happened after that. You know, it was just crap football. But no one at the moment, like there's no manager since Warnock we've had that has really shown any progression, has shown, like, you know, possibility of going forward, of getting into the playoffs, of going up to the Prem, because they're not given time. Either they are too crap, and rightly so they get sacked, or they're just not being given the time. So if we're you know, swapping managers every 5 minutes, we're taking a step back every time. There's no step forward, because if we get rid of Warburton now, who are we going to bring in next? And whoever we do bring in next, how long are they going to get before, you know, we have a cut of losses and people go, oh, that's it, get rid of him, sack him, you know, and then we go and sack him or get rid of him, and then we just carry on that vicious cycle, and we end up not only going backwards but going down and down. It's the harsh reality is we are not a big club. We don't have that money anymore. We screwed ourselves over, well, the board, sorry, screwed us over way back when they gave Mark Hughes that open checkbook. And then once we had the financial fair play fine, that was it. There is no more money. We have to rely on our youngsters now, and we have to rely on the loan market. Whether Easy goes or Osei goes for millions and millions, not all that money is going back into, you know, the team. Majority of that is going to go back into the club because of the struggling on the finances. We have to rely on the lesser known players, the ones that can do a job but don't cost a lot. That's the unfortunate reality. The one thing I'll say though is, yeah, everyone's right to criticise, everyone's right to have their opinion. I have seriously not got a problem with that at all, and it's healthy for people to have different opinions. But just be open-minded, that's all I'm saying, because at the moment it is tough for the club. It's tough for everyone at the moment. This whole situation is no good for anybody. But jumping in, you know, on pulling the trigger, you know, too soon every time doesn't help with progression. It only sends us backwards. And by no means, if halfway through the next season we're losing, we're bottom, we're playing crap, we've got no players, then I will hold my hands up and say, yeah, people are right. It is time for Warburton to go. But until then, have a little bit of belief, have a little bit of faith. It's never easy being a QPR fan. I know that. Trust me, I know that. And I've seen a hell of a lot worse than what is going on at the moment. I mean, I remember the time we almost went out of business, for God's sake, and that was awful. But please, have a little patience, a little bit of hope, a little bit of faith, and hopefully we can all look back on this and go, that was a bad time, but look at us now. We're in the playoffs, we're in the Prem, or we're in League One. But either way, you get my drift. So anyway, guys, that's it for this post-match review. So it's not good at the moment. You know, 3 losses on the bounce, but there is some progression coming. So let's hope that come Sunday we see that progression even more and actually pick up at least a point. I would take a point now rather than another defeat. But other than that, if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a like. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the bell so you can keep up to date with all my videos when and if they come out. Because after this video, I might get shut down for having an opinion. But, you know, other than that, guys, thanks again for watching. And as always, come on, you R's.